Hi everyone, welcome to the February 2019 edition of Farsight's Time Cross Project. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Aziz Brown and I'm holding down the fort when Courtney Brown is away. We here at the Farsight Institute have a great show for you today, the Battle of Los Angeles. That's right here, right now. But before we begin, let me announce to all of you today that we are releasing for free a project that has previously only been available for purchase. The time has finally arrived for us to release Farsight's 9/11 project on YouTube. As always, we are deeply appreciative of those who have supported us over the years by purchasing all of our videos that we have released as premium projects. Thank you for your support. Now, to be sure, it will cost us something to release our 9/11 project for free on YouTube. We will not monetize the 9/11 project on YouTube, so we will get nothing financial from this, and it costs us a great deal of money to complete that project. Farsight's 9/11 project has two parts. The first deals with the World Trade Center events, and the second deals with the Pentagon event and the organization. Now, understand that no one can claim something done with remote viewing is 100% correct without first obtaining physical evidence, but that is what remote viewing is all about. Remote viewing data can help guide the search and interpretation of physical evidence. So, raising questions is really what remote viewing is all about. And it is with the intent of raising questions of all sorts that we think many people may find Farsight's data interesting, perhaps even useful. Farsight did this project under totally blind conditions with really great remote viewers. If you have not seen it yet, I hope you will watch it, both parts. Part 1 will be released on YouTube on February 15th, 2019, in just a few days. And Part 2 will be released on YouTube on March 15th, 2019. Everyone who previously purchased the videos on Vimeo will of course be able to still access the documentaries on your Vimeo accounts, just as always. And an update on our new premium project that will be released later this month, or if needed, early next month. The Last Apollo Missions. It is in the final stages of production and it will knock your socks off. According to our data, the Apollo mission did not end with Apollo 17 in December of 1972. There was at least one and possibly two additional flights to the moon, flights that were military in nature and which were not publicized to the public. Their mission was extraordinary, and you will understand all the secrecy once you see the project. So hold on tight. It is coming. Watch for it. And now, on to this month's Time Cross, the Battle of Los Angeles. This event took place in February 24th and 25th of 1942, just 3 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor that initiated the U.S.'s involvement in World War II. Basically, what happened was that everyone was on edge, the war was blazing, and there were rumors that there might be an attack in the offing. At around 2:30 in the morning on February 25th, something was apparently sighted in the air, and air raid sirens blared. By around 3:15 a.m., the shooting began, and wow did it begin. There were spotlights focused everywhere in the skies, and there were reports of something being the focus of the attention for the spotlights. Then, the anti-aircraft shells were fired, over 1,400 of them, plus lots of machine gun fire. It was pandemonium. Indeed, here is a picture of that evening that was published in the Los Angeles Times. Notice how all the lights are pointed at something that appears to be in the sky. And early in the morning, on the 25th, multiple radars did find an unidentified target 120 miles west of Los Angeles. They even tracked the object as it approached the land, and it vanished off their radars. And then lots of stuff was suddenly sighted in the air, and then all hell broke loose. Now, some military sources claim that it was triggered by a weather balloon, which is the closest one got to an official admission that something in fact was in the air at the time. And that is all we have from the official sources. Based on eyewitness reports, you would think that one of the hottest battles in the war was being fought right there in Los Angeles. Then, by 7:30 a.m. on the 25th, everything calmed down, and the event was officially called a false alarm, created by jittery nerves. There was no physical evidence of an enemy attack, and the damage that did occur seems to have been due to the stuff that the Los Angeles military forces were firing into the air, plus a few car wrecks. But some of the major media on the West Coast were not convinced with the official explanation that this was all a big mistake. For example, an editorial in the Long Beach Independent claimed, "There is a mysterious reticence about the whole affair. and it appears that some form of censorship is trying to halt discussion on the matter. Some call for a congressional investigation, and after the war, the Japanese military stated that they absolutely had nothing to do with it. To make matters even more confusing, there were numerous reports on the 24th of unidentified airborne objects that were sighted over Southern California near defense facilities. So, it is a mystery as to what actually triggered the event, the Battle of Los Angeles. And, as we like to do when confronted with a mystery, we sent some great remote viewers to look at the event all under totally blind conditions, and that is what you are watching right now. I will make some summary comments after you see the reports, but I do want to make one comment regarding the report done by Melena Hall. That report was recorded in a new studio of ours, since our other studio was being used for something else at the time. And all the sound baffles were not in place in the new studio when the recording was done, something that has now been fixed. So I ask for your patience with the sound quality in that report. In the future, you will see and hear great stuff coming out of that new studio. So here it is, the Battle of Los Angeles, brought to you from reporters on the scene who went back in time to watch it live, solo, totally blind to the target, and with no communication amongst themselves regarding the data or the nature of the project. The remote viewers are Kahmia Dunson, Melena Hall, Arkie, and myself, Aziz Brown. Some of the reports focus on what was happening on the ground, and others focus on what was happening in the sky. Remember also that for these time-cross mysteries, the remote viewers only visited the target for one pass. That is, they only have one shot to see what they're going to see. With our premium mysteries projects that we release on video on demand and DVD, the viewers go back and back and back to a target until they get as much as they can. We don't have the time or the money to do that with type of thing with Time Cross Monthly series. So, obviously, each remote viewer gets a little less complete of a perspective of what happened relative to what they could get if they returned to the project over a period of many months. Nonetheless, what they do get is normally very interesting, even with only one visit to the target. Here now is what they saw during the Battle of Los Angeles.
Today we'll be exploring target 64651881. Okay. My basic gestalts here are land, structures, and subjects. I have flat land here and some mountains in the background. It's cold here too, and it's overall a natural environment. I have a land-water interface, and then I also have several structures here, and it feels like a city. And I'm just sensing a lot of movement here as well. And I see multiple subjects everywhere. There's just many subjects here. It's like a crowd of people. But it's not like a focused gathering. It just feels like a big crowd of people again. And it's very, very loud here. I think there's a male presence here, so I feel like there's mostly men here. But then I also feel like there's women here as well. And then I have this large non-surface structure kind of hovering over my flat land. And then there's just a lot of mountains and a lot of foliage here as well. And subjects everywhere. So here I have my non-surface structure up here, and it's got this large window on it, and then I've got my mountains in the background, and then down here I've got my land-water interface. And then this seems to be the city here with all these structures and my scattered subjects running around. So I can hear just a lot of roaring, a lot of yelling, a lot of shouting. And I just see subjects everywhere doing. It's just kind of like I see. They look like they're running around, but they're not like running from something. They kind of look like they're all running at each other. Like some of them are running at each other and some of them are running around. And they look like they're fighting. It kind of reminds me of like there's a war going on, or kind of like the riots in France. That's what it's reminding me of right now. It's very loud. Everything's looks like things are like falling apart almost. Like the buildings are crashing. Just have a lot of explosive and multi-directional movement here. It just feels like everything is happening all at once. It just feels like there's a lot of activity here. Again, it's just very loud. I'm trying to hear through the noise, very loud. And it's like hot kind of. There's like a heat here, like a fire. And then there's also like kind of that smoky smell in the air, kind of like there's smoke here too. It just feels very chaotic, like a lot of chaos is happening. Okay, now I'm kind of focusing on this non-surface structure here. There's definitely subjects inside this structure. And these subjects feel they feel like emotionless, almost like they have no remorse. They feel like they're just kind of like, I don't want to say dead on the inside, but they just feel like they're just not there emotionally. Like they can't really comprehend what's going on down here, or like they just don't care what's going on down here. And these subjects are like, they're tall and they're skinny and they're very, very pale. They're kind of like creepy. They just feel off. Something just doesn't feel right with these subjects inside my structure. And I just see them through the window of this non-surface structure, looking down at what's going on here. So this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. I see it looks like I'm looking through the window, and I see these subjects in here that are all, very pale, almost very, very pale. And they all have these longer limbs, it feels like, and then they all are wearing all white too. And they kind of just look like they're, I don't want to say excited, but they kind of look like they're either glad that they're not down here or something. But this is what I see through that window. So now I'm going to go 2,000 feet up. Let's see, from up here, all I see is, again, these big mountains, and you look down and I see my city, and I see the land-water interface over here. And I just see everything is just, it just looks crazy. It just looks like a war zone down there. I'm going to go 2,000 feet in each direction. Let's see. When I go 2,000 feet to the right, I see just land and water, my land-water interface here. Let's see, 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet to the left, all I see is these structures, structures everywhere, people everywhere, structures and people. 2,000 feet behind me, again, I just see like this land-water interface, no structures or anything. And 2,000 feet in front of me, I see this, again, all my structures, all my people, and then I also see this non-surface structure. Overall, I feel like I'm getting this feeling that someone like either came in and wrecked the whole town. It feels like someone wreaked havoc on this town. Yeah. That's all I have for target 64651881.
This is the first pass for target 79713683. For my first pass, I have multiple subjects in uniform, mostly male subjects, a few that are not in uniform. I also have level topography, which is extensive land, multiple structures in behind and the back around this area. The male subjects have a tense energy. They're very chaotic, a lot of running around. Very angry. It's weird gas smells as well, so there's smoke all around this area. It's very warm outside. The temperatures are moderate and also hot a little bit. And inside the structure is very cold. Here's my second visual for the first pass. I have subjects seem to be in the formation in a line, and inside the structure is very dull. The lights are dull. The inside is very cold as well. It feels like a breeze in the hallway. There's like a wide corridor, actually, doors, and there's rooms on each side in the structure, and there's like dull lights as well. And the subjects seem to be covered in dark uniform and look equipped, so they have heavy armor on them, and seem to be walking inside this structure, which this is like the hallway of the structure. Is very, very dark light, but it's light there. The light is very dull and the smell is very weird, but it's very cool. Like it's very cold inside. I have an urban area with a city in the distance. I also have vehicles below, plenty of subjects around, plenty of loud noises, loud voices, a lot of activity by subjects and movement by objects. The structure seems very hard and man-made. And there's also striking noises coming down and up. It's like heavy strike noises and sounds, and lots of heavy light activity. There's also shooting lights around the area, and there's also a land-water interface in the distance, so water is definitely near. But there's very loud noises and lights everywhere. It's a very chaotic. I have a large body of water here, and I have also a non-surface structures as well in the middle. I'm also getting powerful, a lot of waves, a lot of whoosh. There's also stones, rocks around this area, and I'm also getting lights, red sparks of lights going up. So there's a lot of activity and majority of movement in this whole body of water area. Not too far from the structure, but it's definitely here. And it seems very loud. The noise is like a burst noise. I'm getting more lights and a powerful light that's hitting structure, like the lights is going towards the structure and it's very bright and it's also causing damage to the structure. So it has like a semi-hardness to the light. So the light is very, like it's targeting at certain structures here. It feels like it. I have that feel of sparks in the air. And below, there's also subjects still in the water and on land. And it seems to be surrounded again by heavy, rocky structures and rocks. And it's very dangerous out here. And it seems a bit like an evening.
Welcome, everybody, to February Mystery Target 1875-4113. Let's see what we can find. Okay, I'm picking up a coastline, steep drop-off, ocean, beach, but I've got some activity here. So let's see what's going on there. Okay, I've got a coastline, what seems to be an industrial area, or some type of base. I'm picking up these long segments that seem like runways. Very large area, once again, buildings, sensing activity, planes, the ocean, and what we would call an obstacle or a transition from the water to the beach and to these, what I think is fairly steep. But let's go in closer on these buildings, because I sense some activity there. All right, that took a little bit of time. I'm getting a sense in these buildings at that industrial park or base or airport that there's activity here. That activity is a meeting. And in that meeting, there are a couple, I think, experts explaining, describing something that has to do with these guys and maybe the base. I'm not clear on that. But it seems, I won't say confrontational, but very intense meetup. And I don't pick up the topic. Let's get a little closer to this. So I've got two men talking at a board, and what I picked up, there's a disagreement, or this guy right here is very stressed out, sweating, fear, disbelief, sort of shaken, I would say shaken. This person, on the other hand, seems to be pretty calm, collected, and he is delivering. He's delivering the information. All right. Let's see what else we can find here. What is that? This guy is worried. All right, I'm picking up a dome-like structure, large open area. Seems to be active. I've got a sense of other antennas. So a dome that most likely appears to be some type of antenna array. So this is a quick sensation I had as I'm getting into this target. I just have a sense of force being applied or of motion. I don't know how else to depict it. Let's see what else we can find here. All right, I'm picking up an object, and this object, to me, it appears egg-shaped, but what's really, we'll probe inside here. It seems like without propulsion other than this, and the best way I can describe it is sort of like an auric field, some type of field around this what seems to be a hollow object. Let's do some probing inside, see what we can find. All right, actually we probed that craft that in the previous drawing, and I'm just trying to grasp on this last probe, what I'm seeing. I'm looking from the inside of that shell-like object. I'm literally looking through it, and I'm seeing the base, the runway, the things we had depicted a little bit earlier, through the craft. It's as if, see if I can describe it. It's as if you were inside an eggshell, and when you looked outside of that shell, it was like nothing was there. Everything is clear, and the visibility is unlimited. But I'm picking up, so I don't know if it's night or stars or something up there. Let's continue. View through the object. All right, what I'm picking up is individuals, life human, as we would call them. They're picking up on an area of interest here, and we'll go and probe this. But it seems a bit disheveled, diswrought, messed up. Don't know what. So what I'm picking up is a large swath of destruction. I get a sense that these were structures or buildings. I also get a sense that this is the object of those people's attention. This area of destruction. Whether these are roads or buildings, I don't know. From a visual perspective, it's just sort of a mash of dark confusion and destruction in the distance. Let's continue. I get an impression of uniform objects casting a shadow. I don't know if these certainly aren't, I don't think they're Easter Island objects or large statues. They seem more functional, but they were put together in some sort of array or some sort of logical fashion. I just get a sense that there's a shadow being cast from all of these things under the ground. Don't know if that's important, but that's what I got. All right, when I took a sight line on this target again, I got the base, and I got an impression I was viewing the base from that egg-like object, and what we're seeing here, notable. I keep on getting this impression of these converging runways, along with buildings, structures, aircraft, vehicles. So certainly industrial location, airport, or base. Let's see if we can get anything else. All right, I'm picking up on really sort of a strange collection of geometric figures, and when I probe on this, I'm sensing an object. I sort of consciously, which will trip me up, think it might be looking at the top of the structure, a structure. But certainly an object or structure, odd-shaped, and we're viewing it from a top or a side, and it's functional, and I think that's somewhat important. All right, let's recap. All right, to recap, we had a coastline with a fairly steep drop-off, a large industrial area, airport or military base. We sensed activity in the building, and we blew that up to get a visual on a meetup in one of the areas, and it seemed like it was an L-shaped building. A meeting happening, a sense of charts, important information being disseminated. Two men on the board who were disseminating, it looked like one was delivering in a calm manner and the other was stressed, sweating, in fear, in disbelief. Moving on, we captured a dome structure like a radome or antenna in a large open area. We picked up this hollow craft with hollow eggshell-like craft, very hard to describe, with what seems an energy field surrounding it. I didn't pick up any physical impressions within the craft, but I did get a sense of consciousness. Something's there, maneuvering or guiding the craft, possibly. And then looking through, the amazing thing was sort of getting a sense of being inside and looking through what should be a solid skin of a craft, but it's totally transparent. The inside view is the outside view. And then finally, we had activity at a site with some type of level of destruction. That concludes my rendition for Target 1875 4113 February Mystery. Thank you.
Hello. This is a session for backstory using targets 96, 86, 36, 34. All right, so here we have a large expanse of water, a land-water interface with this sort of bay-like curved land, and the rest of the land actually has foliage on it. Lush foliage, a lot of foliage, there's foliage. There are some objects, structure-like objects that also I was picking up, so looking at those locations. Alright, so it seems like there is a structure nestled in the foliage over here on the land side, and then across this bay-like land-water interface there seems to be these boat-like structures on the water, and they seem to be, both structures seem to be metallic and very heavy, but these are quite hefty, these structures. Looking inside this one. So inside this boat-like structure, there seems to be multiple subjects. They're uniformed. This one seems to be standing out. Just sort of has this authoritative sort of demeanor. And I'm getting this sort of sensation that there's a lot of these banging sounds, loud sounds, so investigating that. Alright, so it seems that the structure is shooting out a fiery projectile. The projectile has sort of a metallic texture to it, a the structure in the water, the boat-like structure, that also seems to be very heavy set, sturdy, metallic. There's a lot of firepower into whatever is being rocketed, and this all seems to be in the direction of the land. So looking now at the land and seeing what is the target of this projectile. All right, so the target of this firepower seems to be these three multiple subjects. Looking at three, I'm sensing three of them here, and two of them seem to have these hard hats, hard headgear type of features, and one of them does not seem to have any of that protective headgear on. They seem to be inside this metallic, tough, hard structure that's on a sloped plane. There's these dense amount of foliage, huge amount of dense foliage all around them. Further in front of them is the land-water interface, and behind them just seems to be a lot more foliage going backwards. They seem to be attacked directly by this barrage of firepower. So the firepower seemed to have hit them right here. So let's see what happens there when it happens. I was getting a sensation of a couple tinks over here, like tink-like sounds from maybe a lighter projectile or something like that was sort of ricocheting or bouncing off the structure, or maybe just penetrating it just slightly. But there's this big rush of an explosive energy that hits it dead center, and that just sort of causes the metal to flower open, and this huge rush of force and fiery energy just explodes out of the structure and pretty much eviscerating everything going on in the structure, and or at least pertaining to this area that got hit, and a huge amount of energy and smoke just going upwards. It's not like the structure was completely wiped off the face of the earth, but it was severely damaged beyond use. I mean, it was a really strong hit on this structure. So seems like what's left was this open, flowery, opened, metallic, jagged feature from where the impact happened, and this smoky tower that was emanating from the impact. So yeah, it just seems like this front side was just blown out by this explosive projectile. So anyway, looking further at the surrounding area during this attack. Simultaneously, while this structure is being attacked, there seems to be a lot of smaller projectiles that are being shot into the foliage, as well as some larger ones as well. And there just seems to be a barrage of firepower in this general vicinity. There are structures that are being destroyed inside this, subjects that are being destroyed inside this structure. There are a couple of subjects outside that are running while being pelted with these violent weapon-like projectiles. And looking now, let's find out the origin of what was going on in here that maybe could have beckoned this attack or something like that. Alright, so just prior to the attack, it seems like there were the three subjects, two have headgear, one does not have headgear, and it seems like they're working, and these two with their hard hats on, they're holding some sort of man-made object, and this one that seems to be working in the center on what seems to be like electronic equipment. So it seems like these guys are working on electronic equipment. The attack starts happening, and let's find out. When these smaller projectiles start hitting their surrounding area, as well as this outside of the structure's not been severely damaged yet, but it seems like there's a look of surprise on all of their faces. And yeah, going forward, it seems like they sort of start shifting their attention away from work, and right when that happens, this rush of fiery energy just sort of engulfs the whole scene, and all work on whatever they're working on that seems to just be like electronical in nature halts completely. I lose track of these guys completely after the explosion. They sort of just seem like they're in this fiery mess of a broken structure. And yeah, that seems to conclude the data. I'd say that it seems like a violent attack from a water-based set of subjects with superior firepower that's pretty one-sided. It seems like just the subjects on the water sent an attack over to the subjects on land, and it seems pretty one-sided. It didn't seem like there was a heavy exchange. It seemed like it was a one-sided attack. So that does conclude the data for backstory using target 96863634. So let's wrap up. What do we have here? Well, let's start with my own data for this project, since that is what we clearly saw last. I picked up on the military activity. Moreover, several buildings were indeed destroyed during an attack as a result of anti-aircraft fire hitting the ground. That appears to be what I saw, and I interpreted that more literally as an attack from something fired from a ship that hit a building. That would make sense, in fact, since a ship would be firing anti-aircraft weapons more in the direction of land than a land-based anti-aircraft weapon that would be aimed more in the direction of water. I wish I had been able to go back to the target a second or third time. I would have eventually looked up to see what they were firing at. Interestingly, Kahmia Dunson, Melena Hall, and Arkie all focus on non-surface structure that seems to be attracting the attention of the people on the ground. Indeed, from Kahmia's session, it does look like this may have been a classic UFO that inadvertently triggered the chaos. The entire scene of pandemonium may have been as surprising to the occupants of the UFO as it was to everyone else. In fact, it makes me wonder if something like this may have been used even up to today as a reason to avoid talking about the extraterrestrial phenomenon openly, avoiding panic as an excuse for continued secrecy. You never know. But what we do know is that there were a lot of UFO sightings during the war, especially the so-called Foo Fighters. So a UFO over the Los Angeles area at that time of this event could have actually happened. Regardless of whatever that non-surface thing is, our data does suggest that there was an actual hard non-surface structure that was present at the scene. Well, that's it for this month's edition of Time Cross. Thank you so much for watching. Also, I hope that you get a chance to watch our recent mysteries project, Moses Beyond Exodus, one of our most amazing projects ever. And please remember to watch some of our other mysteries projects, such as The War in Heaven, and also Tunguska Complexity, Remote Viewing Area 51, the Roswell UFO crash, the investigations into the 9/11 events, the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King, the psychology of Adolf Hitler, and some amazing explorations into UFOs and extraterrestrial life. As always, all Farsight remote viewing work is done by highly trained remote viewers working solo under totally blind conditions with no communication between any of the remote viewers. So, Farsight projects are nothing short of amazing, and there is nothing like it anywhere else. And remember that when you watch our mysteries projects, you are helping us at Farsight do our work, including the funding for our Time Cross projects, which we offer free to the public, but which cost us a few $1,000s to make each month. We have no other significant sources of income to pay the bills, so you really help us when you follow and watch our activities and research. Without you watching our projects, we would not exist. Finally, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight Press, to keep up with the latest. You can find information about all of our present and past activities on our website. Also, on our website, please sign up for our free email newsletter where we announce all of our major projects. The email newsletter is actually one of the best ways to keep up with all of our activities. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now.